What's up guys, and welcome back to Franchise Player. Today we're back with another PS3 video, aka my favorite console of all time. Today's video is going to be all about building a PS3 collection for $100. So $100 you can actually get quite a few games. I'm going to go over some that you've probably seen on the channel before, some games that don't get enough love, and of course some PlayStation exclusives as well. Today looks like we got about 9-10 games, something like that. So for $100 you can snag all these. I'll have screenshots of the prices. But before we jump into this video, let me know some games that you would put in your PS3 collection if you only had $100 started out. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into this. First off, on this list, this was the last in its series. This game really needs to come back, and I'm talking Midnight Club LA. This is a fantastic game from Rockstar. I know the Midnight Club series got tons of people into cars back in the day. On the front, I think this is a Mitsubishi Lancer. This game got a ton of people into cars, man, which was really cool. This game had a ton of nice customization, great graphics, and it really brought like that street racing to the PS3 and 360, since this is a multi-platform game. This game goes anywhere for between, it looks like $9 to $12, so I'll just call it right in the middle at 10. I think I got this at a thrift store like years ago. It looks like it says like $3 on it or something like that. Haven't played Midnight Club in quite some time. This came out back in October of 2009, and we have not had a Midnight Club game since. So Rockstar, wake up. I know a lot of people would love to have Midnight Club again. I mean, imagine a Midnight Club game on PS5 and Series X. It would be absolutely insane, especially with how far graphics and gameplay have come. But yeah, for $10, I think you gotta have this in your collection. Next up here, I have, kind of an underrated game in my opinion. And this is once again also a game that you can get on 360, but this is Stranglehold by John Woo. So John Woo, I guess was a director of a ton of movies back in the day. And this game is super over the top, action. This game is pretty much known for having like super intense cinematic scenes, basically, where you dive, you're in slow motion, you have two guns out, Max Payne style, shooting at people. I know one complaint that people have about this game is it can get a little repetitive, but man, this game is super fun. It's enjoyable. It's a game that is stuck in this generation. I would be very surprised if this ever got remastered or re-released. And once again, this is a game that goes for $10. So you can easily scoop this up on eBay, locally, $10 all day. I think this is a great game to have in the collection. This game came out all the way back in 2007. So it was a fairly early release in the PS3 and 360 era. On PS3, it looks like it's playable up to 1080i and 720p. This is a dope game, man, for $10. I highly recommend it. You'll probably play through the story once and probably never touch it again, but definitely a fun one, something a little different to have in the collection. All right, so next up, I had to have a Capcom game in this list, and I'm going Resident Evil 5. And I know a lot of people are probably gonna get on me and be like, hey man, Resident Evil 5 is not that great of a Resident Evil. I think this game is pretty fun, man. Co-op, this is awesome. Is it the best Resident Evil game in the world? Definitely not, but co-op wise, this is super fun. Of course, this is available on 360 as well, and it does have kind of that brown filter that a lot of games from this era had, which I know people aren't too fond of. This game, I think, holds up pretty well. It's still super fun to play, and you can get this, for $10, usually less, especially locally. So if you don't have this on your PS3, I recommend picking it up. It's fun to have a horror title in your collection, especially if you're just starting out. And you can't go wrong with the Resident Evil series, Biohazard as it's known in Japan. So yeah, Resident Evil 5, no brainer in my opinion. So right here we have another game that was released, looks like back in 2008, and that is Soul Calibur 4. So I have a ton of memories with the Soul Calibur series. Soul Calibur 2, specifically on GameCube, is my favorite because you could play as Link, and I sank who knows how much time into it back in the day, dude. But Soul Calibur 4 is pretty dope. Back in the day, the big, kind of advertisements I remember seeing were that on PS3, you could play as Darth Vader, and on the 360 version, you could play as Yoda, which was super cool. I always loved how the Soul Calibur games would have some kind of unique character on each system. I know on the Soul Calibur games on PSP, you could use Kratos, which was really cool as well. This is good old Soul Calibur action. Looks like it is 720p, so no 1080p on this one, unfortunately. But yeah, this is a great game. I always loved the Soul Calibur series. It's super nostalgic. Online, I saw this go from about $7 all the way to 10 bucks, and locally you can get that for the same price easily. Once again, if you're building this collection with 100 bucks and you want to have a fighting game, I don't think this is a bad option. Street Fighter is not a bad option either, but I think Soul Calibur is pretty cool. If you've watched any of the other videos I've done on the channel that are PS3 related, you already know that I'm probably gonna have these in here, and that is the Uncharted series. So we're gonna have Uncharted 3, Uncharted 2, and Drake's Fortune. And all these games, luckily, are pretty cheap. They can all be had for, it looks like, 5 bucks a piece. So you can get the entire trilogy for 15 bucks, which I think is a total no-brainer. You know, Uncharted Drake's Fortune is gonna be the most dated of the bunch. I think this came out back in 07, but it looks like it's supported up to 720p. Uncharted 2 is probably my favorite of the bunch. I remember playing this on like a kiosk in a GameStop back in the day, where you're like running I think you're running down like a staircase from a truck that's on fire or something like that and kind of shooting back at it. And I remember just being like, dude, the graphics on this are pretty wild. So yeah, Uncharted 2, great game. I never played really too much of the multiplayer back in the day, but this game does have 1080p, which is nice. Uncharted 3, the case on this is super beat because I got it at a garage sale a long time ago. You'll see in my PS3 collection video that there's a handful of games I have that have that whiteout up top on it. But yeah, Uncharted 3, this is one of the best looking games on PS3, along with, I'd say, The Last of Us and a couple other late life cycle releases for the PS3. But yeah, 5 bucks a pop, man, for the Uncharted games, 15 bucks for the trilogy. I think that's pretty solid. Right, man, so we're at 55 bucks roughly so far. If you're getting all these for 10 bucks, well, 5 a piece for Uncharted. So what, yeah, 10, 20, 30, 40. Yeah, 55 bucks for these games so far. And I think that's pretty solid, especially if you're just starting out and you're working with that $100 budget, kind of like I said at the beginning. Next up here, we have a game that came out in May of 2010. And I'd actually got this at Half Price Books not that long ago for $2. You can still see the $2 on there. Half Price Books, I know a lot of people have like beef with Half Price Books. Occasionally you'll get a steal there. Sometimes you'll catch them slipping and their games are underpriced, so occasionally you'll get a good deal. But a lot of people online will say, you know, half price books, full price games. So I don't know, me personally, I find good stuff there. But yeah, Mod Nation Racers, you know, is this Mario Kart? No, it's not Mario Kart, but I thought it would be cool to have a fun arcade racer in this $100 build-a-collection. Mod Nation Racers, cool series. I've never gotten super into it. There's one of these on PSP, Vita, and PS3. Interesting series, PlayStation exclusive. You can find this for 10 bucks, probably less, pretty much all day. So next up, we have a game that I know definitely got some flack, and that is Silent Hill HD Collection. So before you jump in the comments and you're like, oh my God, this is the worst way to play the game. Look, I never played the original Silent Hills on PS2 back in the day, and I know that's an issue that a lot of people have with this, is that, hey, there was a ton of issues with basically remastering this or, you know, re-releasing it, because I guess there were some issues with Konami. I think they had lost the source code or something super weird. So the game, I guess the fog is a little weird compared to, you know, the original games. Me personally, I don't really care, dude. I didn't play the originals, and I'm not gonna trip super hard, because if I've played Resident Evil Revelations 2 on Vita, I think I can pretty much deal with anything graphically. But yeah, I haven't got super deep into this. I got a little bit into Silent Hill 2. This goes for about 20 to 25 bucks, and it looks like you can still get it brand new online on Amazon. I had actually got this on Amazon, probably a couple of years ago for 20 bucks. It was sealed, brand new, but you can tell, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see this on camera, but this was basically like a reprinted PS3 game. It was sealed, brand new, it's authentic, but it was a different style case that they were using when they would reprint these games. Also, when you open it here, another way you could tell it was basically like a reprinted game is right here in the middle where the disc is. That looks a little different too, compared to a traditional PS3 game. But yeah, 20 to 25 bucks, dude. I think the Silent Hill HD collection is a good one to have in your collection. Gives you 2 horror titles. If you're a trophy chaser, there's trophies on both games, which is really cool as well. So yeah, Silent Hill HD, another horror game to go into the bundle here that we have going up. The last but not least is The Last of Us. If you're building a PS3 collection and you don't have The Last of Us in it, I don't know what you're doing, man. But for 10 bucks, this is a no-brainer. In my opinion, still probably the best looking game on a PS3, along with maybe Gran Turismo 5 or 6. The Last of Us still looks absolutely insane. I wish the multiplayer was still up for this. It no longer is, so you can only play it online through the PS4 remastered version. But yeah, the original Last of Us still holds up. It's still a great game to have in your PS3 collection if you're just starting out. A game that you'll easily find for 10 bucks or less pretty much all the time. I remember when GameStop was basically clearing out PS3 stuff years ago, they had this all the way down to like 99 cents. But after the show came out, after The Last of Us gained more popularity, all Last of Us things pretty much went up, at least a little bit. I think The Last of Us is one you gotta have in your PS3 collection if you're just starting out. So just doing some rough math and doing some rough estimates, this puts us at about 95 bucks roughly. I mean, give or take with taxes where you're finding stuff, maybe you're finding a little bit less, but you can definitely get all these games for under 100 bucks. Pretty good way to build a collection if you want to jump into PS3 and start off and get a handful of some great games for under 100 bucks. There's not a ton of systems where you can do that nowadays and still get quality titles. So you might have some different ones in your list, but I think these are all some pretty fun games if you were to go out with 100 bucks and start collecting for the PS3. I tried to do a little mix and match with a couple exclusives, a couple multi-platform games, and some different genres as well. But if you only had 100 bucks to collect for PS3 and start a collection, let me know what games you would get, man. Drop them below. Would you just ball out and try to get some of the more rare titles, or would you try to get as many games as possible with the 100 bucks, even if the games were, kind of trash? And I think we went pretty far with the 100 bucks, man. Maybe we could have gone a little cheaper and gone for some other, PlayStation exclusives like Killzone 2 and 3. Those are pretty cheap. Metal Gear Solid 4, things like that. But yeah, pretty solid group of games here. I can't really complain for 100 bucks. That's pretty much gonna do it, guys, for today's video of building or at least starting a PS3 collection with 100 bucks. I'll probably do another one of these in the future for some other systems, see how far we can stretch 100 bucks. I already had all of these games, so I was just basically going off eBay comps and past sales, or if you wanted to start out. But yeah, let me know what your favorite PS3 game was out of this pile we have here. As usual, appreciate you watching, and we'll catch you soon with another video.